go roaming around and I'm going to look at the different signals on the wave scanner and I'll describe what we're seeing. I also suggest wavescanner.net has a lot of the info I'll be sharing, but this will be sort of a in situ, how would you say, trial run of showing how it actually ends up working. So here on the wave scanner I have very clearly these 3 bars at the bottom as it goes through, and that's a signal of bronzite crondite, which actually is one of the, I think, worst rocks that you can find on a planet. It almost never gives anything worthwhile, and by worthwhile I mean something rare. It will give some common elements that maybe some people still need, and they're also useful sometimes for SRV repair and other synthesis, and maybe some low-level roles. If you're trying to level up in engineers, one of the ways to do it is to do the low-level upgrades and roll those. Basically, 3 of level 1 will level you through level 1, 3 of level 2 will roll you through level 2, and I think basically about 12 of level 1 will roll you through level 2 of an engineer. So here now it's split off. It looked like one signal. Now it's split into 2. Basically, the closer you get to these rocks, the narrower the wave scanner signal will get. It'll become more precise as to which direction you're supposed to go. So the one on the left here, slightly left, is a little closer than the one on the right, so we'll go there first. And I think I see it. So see, we're now within range of the rock. We see a box for selecting the rock, and to select it, my button is T. I'm pretty sure that's the default. And now we see it is indeed bronzite crondite, and we get in range and we'll be able to shoot it with our SRV weapons. And as long as we have capacitor charge in our weapons, which we do, we'll be able to shoot it. So let's take a few shots. Explodes, and you'll see some stuff comes out. You can go left to your contacts to see what it is. Nickel and chromium. These are fairly common, but nickel is used in the SRV repair synthesis, so I usually pick those up because I'm pretty tough on my SRV and I need to repair every once in a while. We'll show that. Actually, I'm going to have to repair pretty soon. I'm at 28%. You can see on the bottom right, 28% hull. So I'll do that repair in a second. In order to pick this up, and I'm sorry if some of this is beginner stuff, but I figured that I'd go through all of it. We have to first turn on the cargo scoop. That's home button for me. I think that is the default. And once the cargo scoop is deployed, we target the material and we just roll on over it, and it should say cargo acquired in the bottom right, and it'll make a sound, and it'll say collected elements in the top right, and it is cargo collected nickel. So now to use this nickel, I can go to the inventory, go down to synthesis, go right to SRV repair, and you'll see that the repair requires 2 iron, 1 nickel, and I will repair the hull with that. And then it takes a few seconds, and you see I'm back up to 100%. And this is very useful for if you're doing a long journey in your SRV, bouncing around. Even if you have shields, you're going to take damage. And using these repairs while you're doing this is quite helpful, because otherwise you'd have to go back to a base. You'd have to both go back to your ship and then take your ship to a base to get that repair otherwise. And that's time consuming. So these synthesis are really useful. So we're going to head over to this other bronzite crondite, and you may not be able to hear it, but the sound of the bronzite crondite is a clicking sound. You'll have to listen carefully as the radar, as the wave scanner goes past it. But it's a clicking sound, and usually the clicking sounds indicate low quality rocks. But we'll check it out anyway. You never know. Could give you something you want. This one gives nickel and iron. I'll take some of the iron because 2 iron is used for the SRV repair. Okay, so now that that's done, we can see a little bit of hints on the scanner. It gives little hints as to what is going to be in the distance. Basically on the left you can see these faint hints of a double line, and on the right you can see faint hints of a single line. And they're kind of broken up actually, but if you're really far from the rock, it will first show up as a broken up line, and then it'll become a solid line, and then it will narrow that solid line. But I'm really far away from both of these rocks, and so they're showing up as broken lines. The one on the left, I'm guessing, is an outcrop of some kind with the double line. I'm thinking outcrop type 1. And on the right, I'm guessing it's a mesoridite. The mesoridites are more likely to have higher quality items. They're not the best, but I'm listening to this outcrop on the left, and it has a clicking sound, and that usually means it's a bad outcrop. So I'm going to head to the right. The mesoridites have like a screeching sound, a low-pitched screeching sound as you get to them. And once in a while you have to pause and see which way you're going because the signal is rather weak, so I'm not really sure where this rock truly is. It's very unresolved. It could be anywhere in about a 60-degree range here. So as I head over here, it's going to become a little more resolved. And right now, the terrain right now is not very hilly, so I can actually just roll around without any issue. When we get to hilly terrain, I'll show how I usually deal with that. So let's not bump into the rock. Okay, so now as we're getting closer, you can see that the scan is getting more solid. And it's certainly a little to my left. This might actually be two rocks. I don't know yet. But you'll hear now very clearly, if you're in game, a grinding sound, and that will indicate that it is indeed mesoridite. The mesoridites actually, I think, are the most obvious on the scanner because they're a single line. A lot of things are double line and are just placed differently in different locations on the scanner, sometimes slightly. So it's a little difficult to tell the difference, but the mesoridite is indeed a single line. And I think if I don't wiggle around, so the problem with wiggling around is the signal will appear differently because it's it's sort of scattering the image. But yeah, this looks like maybe one rock. We're getting up close to it, and the rocks will be a slightly different color than the rest of the rocks that you see here, so it'll be fairly reasonably easy to find. The mesoridites are usually a lighter color, like a light gray. Oh, there it is. And they should give some decent stuff usually. So this is iron, chromium, and vanadium. And vanadium is not ultra common. It's used in a lot of things, including, I believe, armor upgrades, fairly high level armor upgrades, and maybe some strengthening upgrades for some of the other items. But I have plenty of it, so I'm not going to pick it up. I might pick up some of this iron. Really, it's hard to run out of to have too much iron because you use it a lot. So a little earlier you saw that there was some fuel reserve issues. You can also, as well as repair your SRV, you can refuel it. And to do that, you go into the inventory, go to SRV Refuel. In the synthesis, the basic requires sulfur and phosphorus. These are common, and I'll just do that. Sulfur and phosphorus are fairly common on some planets. This one I don't think so. It depends on the type of planet. They're also fairly common when mining in metallic rings. So there's this basic synthesis. There's the standard and the premium. I'm not really sure if it's worthwhile doing these standard or premium ones. They require slightly rare materials. And those are harder to get, at least at the current time. And they only give a little bit extra fuel. If you just refuel more often, it's not that big of a deal. I wouldn't do these higher ones personally, but some people might. So the premium gives you 200% fuel, or actually 300%, I guess. And the standard one gives you 200% fuel, so you don't have to refuel as often. Does anybody here have any questions about anything so far? Okay. So we'll move on. one of the things that I basically do avoid are these bronzite chrondites. To go over there and open them up is pretty much a waste of rolling time, unless you're looking for basic minerals. Right now, I don't really see anything surrounding me, so I'm going to do a little trick that I